Wedding hair at a whopping 1,500 bobby pins, but I want to know if her groom's behavior ever had her walking on pins and needles as we play. Can you defend him? Okay, Louie's right here, 10 feet away. I'm going to list some of his more dramatic moments. Tell us if you can defend each one and why. Since Louie's always pushing for peace and telling you not to lose your temper, can you defend him losing his cool in that snake pit moment?
Yes, I can.
Can you defend Louie purposefully excluding your brother and Melissa from the Abra dinner?
Yes.
Can you defend Louie backing out of the pizza oven deal with your brother?
Yes.
We get into that at the reunion heavily. Can you defend Louie saying he didn't want wedding guests to waste the flash in their cameras on Joe and Melissa?
I don't know. He said that?
Yeah.
But yes.
Okay. Can you defend Louie wearing no-no's pajamas to bed in order to make your girls feel safe at night?
Yes.
And the story with that is, because we haven't seen you since then, the story with the wearing the pajamas.
Was doing something endearing. Trying to explain something endearing to Joe. Didn't go over well.
Can you defend Louie calling your brother into a secret meeting to tell him about Melissa's alleged affair?
I told him to not do that, but he wanted to because he said, I want him to get ahead of it because I don't want what happened to him last year to happen to my brother. So that's why he.
Was there a thought in inviting her too to the conversation if you believed it not to be true?
That was all on Louie. Like I didn't want to get involved with it because of what happened. Like when they first got on the show, I got blamed for the whole Strippergate thing.
Can you defend Louie allowing his friend Bo Dietl to dig up dirt on everyone in your group?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Said, why do you all save it Margaret as an arsenal when your now husband hired a private investigator to monitor the cast? That's a good question.
He did not do that. Why would he waste his money?
That's what he said in the finale.
I know he did say it because he was, he was frustrated. I mean, did you see what?
Well, did he just pull it out of nowhere?
He just said it. I asked him. He just said it. He was frustrated. That's what he said.
You were just saying it.
Yeah, I was at the end of my rope. It was a long season. Frustrating, trying to get married.
But I mean, that's kind of an amazing thing to come up with out of nowhere.
It is actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
I regret it, though.
And you just defended him in the gameplay. You said you can defend it.
First of all, you know how much that would cost? How many people are on the cast to investigate each person? Do you think we would want to waste our money on that? No. I'd rather him waste his money on me. But I did screw up once, Melissa, because I've been hearing Andy saying out there that I contradicted myself.
About what?
When he asked, do you defend what Louie said? So I'm thinking, you remember that question?
Oh, no, it was the game. Can you defend it?
So what is that? Can you explain that to me? Can you defend it? Because I said, can you defend it? Like, meaning, I thought he was saying, can you defend, like that?
His action.
What was the game? What was the question?
So it was, can you defend it? And then there was a picture of something that happened during the season. And Andy saying, can you defend it? Like, you're defending it. You agree. Like,
it was about the Bo Dietl thing. Can I defend that?
Can you defend Louie saying that he hired Bo Dietl to dig up stuff?
Like, when he's asking me, can you defend it? I thought he meant, like, can you back up your husband by saying that he did not hire a private investigator? So I'm like, yes, I could defend it. But he's saying I'm contradicting myself, so I was supposed to say no to that?
No. See, it's tricks. It's a trick, right?
See, this is my point. So
I say, no, I can't defend it because he actually didn't do it.
Okay, so that's how I was supposed to answer it. I got tripped up on that question. I thought that he was saying to me, can you defend it that he did not call the private investigator on everyone? So I was saying, yes, he did not.
Right. Listen, and really, that is like, I mean, sometimes they do these games because like they want to see what funny thing Teresa's going to say. That is just like a tricky question because you could do it both ways.
So I don't know what you guys think after listening to the few clips, but I'm not sure. You know what? I'm going to give Teresa the benefit of the doubt because to her defense, it is a live show. Watch what happens live. So I'm pretty sure that once you're sitting in that seat next to Andy, sometimes maybe, you know, with the stress of it all, you may feel like, I don't know, bombarded with a whole bunch of questions, and then things might go a little bit over your head. So I tend to say that, you know, maybe she is being truthful. Maybe she didn't understand the question, like a lot of us sometimes when we're put on the spot. The only thing that I'm going to say is I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And the reason why I don't believe it is that Louie said it twice, right? He said it twice on the show. And, you know, just for the purpose of charity, let's just say that Louie did speak out of pocket and that he was really annoyed and felt like, you know, his back was against the wall and that he was frustrated, you know, all of these things that he said, that he was feeling the night that he actually said this at the Gatsby party. The problem that I have with Teresa's explanation is this. If Louie would have just said this one time, I could give her the benefit of the doubt for that. But because he said it twice, and I'm going to explain this in a minute, I tend to believe that he did really enlist the services of a private investigator. And to be honest with you, I don't even know. It's very possible that Bo Dietl might not be the private investigator at all. He could be or he could not be, but those words came out of Louie's mouth. So here's the thing. At the Gatsby party, things got tense. Things got heated. People got into each other's faces. If you ask me, Louie seemed to be looking for something, right? Because if you recall, he was kind of just like standing in the sidelines, and I guess he was getting, like, I guess by that time Louie was a little drunk, or if he wasn't drunk, he was on some sort of something, I think, because he was not necessarily behaving like a sober person, in my opinion, from what I could see, right? So Louie was standing in the sidelines and he was like touching, like, you know, Jeff Fessler. He just kept on just like touching him and like grabbing him and like pulling him towards him. And it was very weird, right? And his face was changing when he was doing that. And he was looking at Joe, or he was commenting on things that were said to Joe Gorga. And he's like, yeah, I said a lot of things about Joe. I said a lot of things, right? I know a lot about you, like that kind of stuff, right? So at that point, Louie was looking a little scary. And then he dropped the bomb and said, this is not a gossip. Like, you know, let's eliminate the gossip part. Though this is facts. This is not fiction. Okay, Bo Dietl has information about every single person in the room. That's what he said. Now, let's say that we're going to give him a pass because it was a tense moment. Fine. But then the next day, which is 12 hours later, you know, it's not the same day. Joe Gorga and Melissa are not in your face at that point. You're at home, which is supposed to be your happy place, your comfortable place, your sweet spot, and with your future wife, right? So, of course, you're still probably a little bit aggravated by the events of the previous night. But if the previous night was a 10, you should at least be down to like an 8 or a 7, 12 hours later, I think, in my opinion, right? So we see last episode, Jennifer and Dolores, they come by to talk to Teresa. And I don't know if Louie was supposed to be a part of that scene because it started with just Jennifer drinking her tea or coffee, talking to Teresa, her friend. Dolores comes in, sits down, you know, talks with Teresa and Jennifer again about what happened the night before. And in comes Louie, and he pulls out a chair, sits down, and decides that, hey, I'm going to be part of this conversation again, right? So I don't know. At that point, if Louie had not enlisted the services of a private investigator, Why did he feel the need to double down on that when he was sitting with Dolores, Jennifer, and Teresa? That is supposed to be his happy place. You know, those girls, or women, I should say, are supposed to be in your wedding. They're bridesmaid in your wedding. You're not talking to Joe Gorga. You're not talking to Melissa Gorga. You're not talking to Margaret. You're talking to people that are supposed to be supporters of yours. So why do you feel that it's necessary to not only say that Bo Dietl has a file on Joe Gorga, that he knows information about Joe and Melissa, but you also decide to tell on the rest of the cast as well and say, hey, no one is safe, basically. I have information about all of you. That's why I tend to believe that Louie did in fact enlist the help of a private investigator. And the reason why I keep on saying enlist is because Bo Dietl has come out and made a statement last week and said, I was never hired by Louie. And people are saying, well, you see, like, he confirmed he was never hired, blah, 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 blah. Like, who cares? Like, I'm, hired. Okay, fine. Like, we need to stop acting as if people cannot do each other a favor. Okay. It's very possible. And I'm not saying that Bo Dietl is the private investigator. It's possible that Louie may have had Bo Dietl do it as a favor to him, or maybe he did hire another private investigator and just likes to drop names because, you know what, Bo Dietl's name carries some weight, right? So, like, a lot of weight, actually. So, so I don't know what the story is. I don't know if Bo Dietl is behind it all or not. All I know is that those words came out of Louie's mouth, his mouth, not mine, on a international TV show. He didn't say it once, but he said it twice. And this is going to come extensively. This is going to come up extensively at the reunion. Even before we saw the episode last week, two different persons had told me this. I'm not going to call them sources, just people that I talked to. They told me that this was brought up. And I shared this with you a few episodes ago. So, yes, so we'll see how it makes the edit. If it makes, well, obviously it's going to make the edit because we saw the trailer. But we have to see how this is going to pan out. So while I'm on the topic of that, at first I wasn't sure if I actually wanted to talk about it. But, with some thought, I decided that I'm gonna. So here's the thing. There has been a lot of chatter about not only the private investigation and all of that, but also about smear campaigns. So on the show, we hear in the trailer, we hear John Fuda talk about Louie looking into him, and then we hear Frank Catania with Joe Gorga address Louie and say that he was trying to smear them and all of that. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But there has also been allegations that a certain person, Louie, those are the allegations, that Louie may have hired a person to smear Margaret and to try to kind of like hurt her financially with a big deal that she has with a big retailer. So this is supposed to come up at the reunion. So I don't know. Like, I know like two different persons have confirmed to me several weeks ago that basically the day after the reunion was taped, that this was discussed. Now, is it going to make the edit? I don't know. But this is what I'm going to say about this. I think Bravo needs to do a very robust investigation when it comes to not only the private investigation allegations or accusations. At this point, it's pretty much admitted because Louie said this out of his own mouth. So, and I think if one of my persons is correct, he might even admit it to like at the reunion. So I'm not sure, but anyways, I think Bravo needs to do a robust investigation when it comes to that and see if Louie has indeed really hired someone to look and dig stuff on the cast members. And then they also need to do a robust investigation to see if Louie was really trying to fuck up Margaret's deal. Okay, because, you know, Bravo takes a percentage off of like whatever the Housewives are doing, right? Outside of the Real Housewives. So what hurts Margaret, whether you like her or not, hurts Bravo or any other cast member. So if Louie was really trying to smear her and to have her deal with that big retailer canceled, I think Bravo should look into that. And this leads me to another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about. You know, a lot of people have been saying that, you know, everyone has their opinion when it comes to that. The show cannot continue without Teresa. The show cannot continue without Melissa. It's either you keep them both or you fire them both. That's what a lot of people are saying. Everyone has their opinion. I personally think that they're both valuable to the show. Whether you're on the side of Melissa or on the side of Teresa, I think that this is the story that we've been following. This has been the core story of the Real Housewives of New Jersey for the past 10 seasons. So at this point, I think that if you were to ask me what my preference is when it comes to season 14, I have addressed this before. I've said that I would like to see them both return to the show. I also said that maybe, and that was at the beginning of the season, I said maybe it would be good if Teresa took a sabbatical, only because she's, you know, like a newlywed. Maybe she needs time to consume her marriage to Louie. At that point, I didn't have, you know, like hard opinion on Louie. Like, I saw some of the red flags, but I was still willing to give him a chance. But nevertheless, I think that everybody deserves a little bit of a honeymoon phase, right? Teresa has been on TV since the very beginning of the show. You know, the only season that she had off was when she went away. So obviously, I think that it might not be a bad idea to give her a sabbatical. So I did think that at some point in time. Then I kind of changed my mind. And I was like, I'm not sure about Louie. I still like Teresa. I still like her on TV, but I'm not sure about him. Maybe we need to keep the cameras on her too. So either we keep her on the show or we give her a spin-off, right? So that also has been my position. But my position has never been to not have Teresa on television or to fire Melissa. It has never been that. So just bear with me, guys, because I'm getting to what I actually want to say. So my opinion today, after seeing the entire season and after watching the trailer, and we're going to talk about the trailer afterwards, like a little bit more, but I want to say this. Recently, I listened to Carlos King. He has a podcast, everybody knows. And David Quinn was on his podcast, you know, the author of Not All Diamonds and Rose. Anyways, I really like his approach and his perspective on the whole thing. So Carlos asked him a question yesterday and said, you don't have to answer if you don't feel like it, but if you had to choose between Melissa and Teresa, who would you keep and who would you want out? And his answer was, I would keep Melissa on The Real Housewives of New Jersey because I like Melissa. And I also like Teresa. I would just give her a spinoff, right? Because, you know, she got married. She's been through a lot on the show. Maybe it's just time to just wrap this up, like this part of her life. We're not really interested in seeing her trying to just fake a friendship with Margaret. We know she can't stand her. We don't want to see her try to make amends with Melissa. We know she can't stand her. Like, we don't want of that fabricated drama anymore, and the viewers are just too smart at this point, right? So I tend to agree with what he said. But here's the thing, though. Ideally, that's what I would want to see. I would want Melissa to stay on the show just so she can have an opportunity to show us what she got now that her sister-in-law is no longer on the cast with her, right? It would kind of be her season where she gets to prove herself and see You know, what does she have to offer the viewers? What's her storylines and things like that, right? But here's the thing, guys. And it kind of pains me to say this, and I'm not trying to say that to hurt anyone's pockets, but I have to be truthful. If the allegations of Louie hiring a private investigator are true, if the smear campaign allegation is true against Margaret or other cast members, I'm just trying to put myself in a position where, like, let's say I was an executive of the Bravo network and something like that came across my desk, and I was just like, okay, so we have some cast members that are being blackmailed by another cast member that has some dirt on them. And then we have another cast member that almost lost a big deal to a big retailer because of this blackmail. You know what I mean? And some people are getting threatened, like some children are being contacted because of this cast member. First of all, I would do an investigation, an independent one and a robust one. And if there was any truth to that, if I was able to prove as an executive or HR person that it was true, factual, not just hearsay, well, you know what most companies would do. But this is what I'm going to say, though. If I was Andy Cohen or like a high up executive out there, what I would do is, well, let me just start by saying what I wouldn't do. If those allegations were true, I would not reward Louie and Teresa with a spin-off show. Because to me, that sends the wrong impression. It's like, oh, okay, so you play dirty and you get a spin-off. So voila, that's it, right? I'm sorry, I don't think that would be fair. And that sends the wrong message across the board, because everyone's like, oh, is that what I have to do to get a spinoff? I just have to smear somebody, or I have to say something that is career ending, or do I have to threaten like their loved ones? You know what I mean? It sends the wrong message. And I'm going to tell you why, because I'm all about fairness when it comes to things like this. I have to take a sip, guys. If you take, for example, we're just going to go to Kandi and Phaedra in The Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm not even going to rehash everything that happened there several seasons ago. Everyone knows what Phaedra did and what the rumor was. And I'm really happy that they actually got to the bottom of that rumor, because something like that could have been like career ending for Kandi at that point, right? To be accused of something like this. So I'm really happy that, you know, they were able to prove that it was just all fabricated by Phaedra. But my gut feeling tells me that Andy did not, he didn't actually want to fire Phaedra. I think Andy liked Phaedra. I kind of liked her too. I enjoyed her on the show. Kind of miss her on the show. She had good shade and good read, and she was a good character on Housewives. But Phaedra did something that was, you know, it wasn't just simple shade, funny shade. It was low down and dirty. It was. You know, when someone says something that could, you know, assassinate your character, damage your reputation, end your career, endorsements, and all of that, you know, that's when you have to take actions. And the reason why I'm assuming that Andy fired Phaedra was because, yes, she only did that to Kandi, but the rest of the cast was just like, I don't want to film with you. Because who knows, you might just, like, one day you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you might decide that you want to spread a rumor about me that is not true. And then next thing you know, my career is over, right? Like everything that I've been building for the past, I don't know how many years, is over, right? In an instant. So, and if you take like Nene, you know, Nene wasn't fired after that whole violent episode with the cameraman, right? Like if you guys recall, she just kind of lost her mind. And mind you, she was going through a lot at that point, right? I love Nene. You guys know that. But again, you don't reward people when they exhibit bad behavior, right? Phaedra was fired for her involvement in, Candygate. And then Nene, if you recall, the following season after that, we didn't see Nene for like a few episodes. Like a few. And I believe the way, I'm not quite sure, but I've heard that now the way their contract works, it's like, if you appear, you get paid by episodes. So the more episodes you appear in, the more you get paid. So I think the first 3 or 4 episodes of that following season, we didn't see Nene at all. And that was supposed to be a consequence because of what she did to that cameraman, right? That was completely unacceptable. So that's my opinion, guys. That's the way I see it. I hope Bravo conducts a robust investigation on Louie and tries to see, an investigation on the private investigator thing and on the smear campaign thing. And I hope that that's the reason why the show is on pause right now. I hope it's on pause because someone is looking deeply and clearly into this. And if they find any truth to that, maybe Teresa doesn't get her spin-off, right? It all happened on Bay Boulevard, LLC. I don't know if it's going to be called that. A lot of people have alluded to Love Bubble. I don't know. It could be Love Bubble or, I don't know, Pineapple or something like that. I think it's going to be, if there was one, it all happened on Bay Boulevard, LLC. I'm just going to throw that out there. So, I hope that what they do, if there's any truth to that, is that they bring back Melissa, they bring back Teresa, and maybe Teresa is not featured in the first few episodes of the show that next season, right? Because I think it would be smart for Bravo to send the message across the board that this type of behavior is unacceptable. You're not going to blackmail your colleagues and cast members. You're not going to try to get information on their families and just threaten their kids and all that kind of stuff. It's unacceptable. That's not the behavior that we want. And that, it's going to hurt you financially if you decide to go that route. So that's my take on that, guys.